Sometimes the most incredible stories aren't found in big, fancy history books. They're tucked away in dusty archives. And today, we're going to investigate one of those stories, piecing together the life and the really extraordinary death of a man named John O'Connell, using nothing but the paper trail he left behind.
So our whole investigation kicks off with this one single document, a certificate of death from a fraternal order, dated 1901. It gives us the basics, right? A 57-year-old man, John O'Connell, from Danvers, Massachusetts. Seems simple enough. But it's the handwritten details on here where the mystery really starts to unfold.
Just listen to this chilling note written by his own fraternity brothers. They couldn't even perform their final duty of identifying the body. And why? Because, as they wrote, he was killed in an explosion thousands of miles away in Arizona, and his body was shipped home in a sealed casket.
So what do we got? We've got a Shoemaker from Massachusetts, a violent, deadly explosion out in the Arizona territory, and a body so damaged that it couldn't even be seen. All of these baffling puzzle pieces lead us to one central question.
Okay, so to solve the mystery of his death, we first have to figure out the story of his life. We're going to turn back the clock and use official records to try and build a picture of the man before this all happened.
All right, so check out these census records from 1870 and 1880. They really give us a snapshot of his daily life. We can see he was an Irish immigrant living in Essex County, Massachusetts, and his profession is listed as shoemaker. On paper, it looks like he was living a pretty typical, hardworking American life. And he wasn't just a worker, he was a family man. The 1880 census lists his wife, Priscilla, and their kids, Marcella, John F., Mary, and Margaret. This was the family he was providing for, a life that was thousands of miles away from the Arizona mine where it would all come to an end.
But here's the thing, that quiet life of a family man, that's not the whole story. It's not even close. Because buried underneath all these mundane records is a dramatic, dangerous, and decorated past that tells us John O'Connell was far from an ordinary man.
Get this, decades before he was a miner in Arizona, John O'Connell was a soldier. And we're not talking about just any soldier. He was a veteran of the American Civil War who served for the entire brutal duration of the conflict. This timeline lays out his whole military career. He enlists in 1861 as a private. By 62, he's a corporal. And by 1865, he's earned the rank of sergeant. We're talking 4 full years of commitment and proven leadership, right in the thick of the war.
And he saw serious action. His unit, the 1st Massachusetts Heavy Artillery, fought in some of the most brutal battles of the entire war. Spotsylvania, Petersburg, Hatcher's Run, these were absolutely horrific engagements. And somehow, he survived them all. But the mystery of the man just keeps getting deeper, even in his own military file. In 1862, his official description says he's a man with dark features. But just 1 year later, another record describes him as having light hair and light eyes. Is that just a clerical error, or a sign of how chaotic record-keeping was back then?
Now, his service wasn't without its challenges. In 1864, his commanding officer actually tried to get him demoted for, and I'm quoting here, incompetency, he being unable to write his own name. That's right, the shoemaker who became a decorated soldier was illiterate.
But here's the twist. When that demotion request went up the chain of command, it came back with this one single powerful word stamped right on it: disapproved. His superior officers recognized his value as a leader on the battlefield, proving that his actions spoke way louder than his ability to write. And so this Civil War hero returns to civilian life, raises a family, and eventually, for reasons we'll never know, travels west. Which brings us right back to that fateful day in Arizona, and the records that tell the story of his violent end. 1,600 pounds. Let that sink in. That's how much giant powder, which was an early form of dynamite, detonated at the Commerce Mining Company. The blast was so massive it was reportedly heard 20 miles away. And this is the immediate aftermath, the official, handwritten verdict from the coroner's jury, which met the very next day. In this stark, cold script, it tries to make sense of the chaos.
Well, the jury's findings offered very little comfort. They confirmed 7 men died, John O'Connell among them. But the cause of the explosion that completely obliterated them, they ruled it was unknown. And as for who is to blame, no one. It was officially declared a tragic, inexplicable accident.
But for the O'Connell family back in Massachusetts, that official verdict didn't really matter. Their father and husband was gone, and now they were the ones who had to navigate the aftermath.
The human impact is just laid bare in this document from the Order of Foresters. It officially lists the surviving dependents, his wife, Priscilla, his son, John, and one daughter. They were the people left behind to pick up the pieces.
And with this simple note, John O'Connell's long journey finally comes to a close. After traveling by train in that sealed casket all the way from Arizona to Massachusetts, this certificate from a local funeral director confirms his final burial.
But John had left one last thing to protect his family. Through his membership in the Massachusetts Catholic Order of Foresters, he had an endowment. The payout upon his death was $1,000. And let me tell you, that was a very significant sum of money in 1901.
And the records show exactly how he made sure his family would be cared for. The payment went to his son, John Jr., with the explicit directive that it was for the benefit of his family and his mother. The soldier and the shoemaker's final act was that of a father, providing for his own.
So, from a single death certificate, we uncovered the story of a Civil War sergeant, an Irish immigrant, and a devoted family man. His entire dramatic life was right there, hidden in plain sight, just scattered across a handful of papers. It just makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other extraordinary lives are just sitting there, waiting to be discovered in our ordinary records?